If you're looking for superb ride quality and handling as well as a more aggressive stance for your Mustang, lowering springs could be your best bet. H&R offers a lineup of lowering springs that feature far superior control and quality than that of stock, adding a stylish custom look while retaining comfort. Start off by lifting your car in the air and removing the wheels and tires. We then place jack stands under the rear axle for support, and it gives us the ability to lower the axle later. For more access to the shock bolts, we removed the upper sway bar mounts and lowered it out of the way. Then we unbolted the lower shock mounts. Using our jack stands to lower one side of the axle at a time, we took out the stock rear springs. The new H&R replacements will slide back into place on top of the axle. After the springs are back in, the lower shock mount bolts can be put back in place and tightened up. You might need to raise the axle with your jack stands to align the bolt holes. Lastly, in the rear, the sway bar can be reattached to the upper mounts. Up in front of the car, remove the brake lines that attach to the front strut. Next, remove the top mount of the end link and push it aside from the strut. Both strut bolts can now be removed to free the strut from the spindle. Moving to the top of the car, remove the 4 nuts that hold the strut and strut tower brace if your car is equipped. Hold the strut from underneath before you completely remove the last nut so the strut assembly doesn't fall, then take the strut out from the wheel well. Use a spring compressor to collapse the stock spring in order to remove the top nut. Remove the spring from the strut assembly, then release the spring compressor. Now compress the new H&R spring and place it in the strut assembly, making sure it is aligned properly in the bottom spring perch. Place the top spring perch back on the strut and tighten it back down with the spring correctly seated in the mount. You will have to hold the top mount from spinning when it is tightened. Once the new spring is installed on the strut, remove the spring compressor. The strut assembly is ready to go back in the car. Push it through the top mounts and tighten the upper 4 bolts. Next, slide in the 2 lower strut bolts and tighten them down. The last finishing touches include reattaching the end links, bolting up the brake line brackets, and replacing the strut tower brace. Replace all 4 wheels and lower the car back down to check your Mustang's new lowered stance.